Hey everybody, I'm Pete with the Thrifty Landlord, and today we're going to be installing laminate flooring. This flooring is Traffic Master Saratoga Hickory, and it's going to be installed in a bedroom on the second floor, on top of a wooden subfloor. So since this flooring does not have its own underlayment, we have to install our own. So first things first, we got to remove the carpet. Alright, here's the bedroom that I'm going to be replacing the flooring in. It's about 12 by 13 with a small closet, and I'm pretty sure this carpet has been here since the house was built in 1999. So stick with us and we'll get this carpet pulled up. Alright, now that the pad is up, next step is the tack strip. And all I'm going to use for that is a hammer and a crowbar. Make sure you have your safety glasses and gloves because the nails will stab you. Alright, now that the tack strip is up, it's time to clean up the floor. I'm going to be using a 4-inch floor scraper that you can find at any home improvement store, and I'm going to use this to scrape up the little bits of the carpet pad that are still stuck to the glue. You want to make sure the floor is as level as possible, because if it's not, and you lay the laminate down, it's going to create bulges, and it could possibly come apart or break. Alright, welcome back. Now I'm just going to go over some of the tools that I use for this job and that you can expect to need for a similar job. First up is PPE, personal protective equipment. Safety glasses, earplugs, knee pads, and gloves. I'm going to be wearing earplugs because the saw is pretty loud, and being in a small room like this with the door closed, it is even louder. Next up, you're going to need a tape measure and something to mark the laminate with. I went with a Sharpie for this just because it made a better mark that I could see a lot easier on the laminate. You can use a pencil if you need to, or if it's on real wood or something that's easier to see the pencil mark, go for that. Pry bar, hammer, a multi-bit screwdriver, just a couple little screws that I had to remove throughout the job. Those little blue punches there I'm going to be using when I put the quarter round in case any of the nails don't fully go through, and I can just punch it in a little bit more. The rubber mallet's going to be used on the laminate itself to click it down. The manufacturer recommends just using your palm not to damage it, but you're not going to damage this laminate by hitting it with a mallet softly. I mean, if you bash on it, you might do some damage, but for the most part, you're going to be fine. The tin snips I just used to cut the carpet because this particular carpet was pretty thick, and the blade that I had wasn't really going through it. Just your typical drill, nail gun for the quarter round, or the molding that you put down afterwards. I highly recommend the battery powered, so you don't have to run any air hoses for the pneumatic kind. I just have a little handheld vacuum cleaner for picking up little bits. These are the spacer pieces that I'm going to use around the perimeter of the room, and this pull bar to get the edge pieces in correctly. You can buy a kit for this at any Home Depot or Lowe's for about 20 bucks. Next is the roofer square, just to make straight lines on the laminate for cutting. And then the oscillating cutting tool. This I'm going to be using to undercut the door frames so that I can slide the laminate pieces underneath and you don't see any cuts or any ugliness. It makes it look really clean, really good. And then you saw me use the floor scraper already. some wood glue in case we need to keep some pieces down that I have to scrape off the click together method parts. T-molding, just your regular shop vac, and then I'm going to be using a compound miter saw to cut all the pieces of laminate. I'm also going to be using a table saw, but that's down in the garage, so it's not here. And then last but not least, something to play some music to jam out to. So, all right, stay tuned and we'll get started. All right, it's time to get started. The first step is going to be the underlayment. This is a 3-in-1 underlayment that I just found off Amazon for pretty cheap. It's got this plastic on the bottom, which is going to be our vapor barrier, and then the foam is the actual cushioning for the flooring and some sound dampening. A little loud. This is the flooring that I'm going to be using. It's a Traffic Master Saratoga hickory color. It looks like it's hand scraped, 7 millimeters thick, and it's 51 inches long. And then these spacers, the manufacturer for this type of flooring, since it's clicked together, it's glueless. So it's going to be a floating floor. You need to have spacers around the whole edge so that the floor can expand and contract with the temperature changes. So the manufacturer for this particular type of floor said 3/8 of an inch, and the spacer kit that I bought, when you put two of them together, it makes exactly 3/8 of an inch. So this is what I'm going to be using to put the gap around the entire edge of the floor. Now what I'm going to be doing is laying the first row. I chose to lay it perpendicular with the entry door because it kind of gives the effect that the room's a little bit bigger. Since this is kind of a smaller room, I just think it looks better to lay it that way. It really doesn't matter which way you lay it most of the time. It just comes down to what you think looks best. So the first row is the most important. If you get this wrong, a little 1/4 of an inch difference on one corner could turn into a lot more by the time you get to the end. So you really want to make sure you get the first row straight, and not always, the walls they're not necessarily straight. So you can't really go just by the wall. You need to have a method to make it straight. So I'm going to try to get a good shot and show you how I do that, and we'll go from there. So the first step, I'm going to lay down some underlayment, and then I'm going to do the first row. After that, it goes a lot faster. Alright, so I have the underlayment cut out and laid out. Now I'm just going to stick it down and stick it together. It comes with adhesive strip to attach to the next level, or to the next piece I mean. But I don't 100% trust this, so I'm going to use just packing tape to seal the seam. You can buy special flooring tape from Home Depot, but it's really no different than this. It's way more expensive than something like this. So this particular underlayment comes with this little 3-inch tab, the vapor barrier sticking out, so that the next layer can overlap and stick to this piece of vapor barrier. That way, the vapor barrier isn't breached at all, or it shouldn't be. It should be completely sealed. So now I'm going to stick it down together and just seal it with this. One thing that I did notice when I was laying this on this wall that I'm starting on, is that it didn't sit straight. I had to push it underneath the existing floorboard just to get it to be even against the wall. So it tells me I know I'm going to have to trim the edge of the first piece that I do to get it straight. So let's tape this together and we'll get started with the first row. So what I'm doing here is I'm leaving just a tiny little, maybe a 1/16 of an inch gap, and then I'm pulling this paper off of the adhesive strip as I go along after I put the tape down.